Hi, this is Tony, Mr. USA Atlas, and I'm in your head online.com.
All right, we're back. Welcome to In Your Head Wrestling Radio on the Internet Icon, the pride of the Pilgrims Incher, Jackie Jones. And you're my right-hand man.
Yep, that'd make me luscious biceps, 1-inch biceps, the pride of West Virginia. I don't know. I can't beat the pride of the Pilgrims.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. And joining us right away, I don't have any nicknames for him, but he's returning to the show. He just on a little while ago. Usually when people come on, they're like, I'm never coming on again. But this guy, he's like, I had fun, I'm coming back. And you've got from Kayfabe Commentaries, Sean Oliver. How are you doing?
Oliver Twist. How about that, Jack?
Well, I owe you guys at least this. You were one of the first media outlets, if I can say that without choking, media outlets to recognize our product line 5 long years ago. And to be honest with you, podcasts, radio shows come and go. People go on to get jobs, have families, and here you are. It's a testament to your longevity, but also maybe your inability to do anything else productive. Right. Here you are still 5 years later, so here I am 5 years later.
Still jobless.
I think we deserve a Barry Horowitz pat on the back.
Excellent.
Yes.
How about right there, Barry Horowitz? A jobber line of U-shoots.
We talked about doing a show called the Enhancement Roundtable about, 3 or 4 years ago. Of course, somebody else has put that out since, I think. I must have told somebody about it. But, that always interested me, the life of the journeyman. And I don't know if jobber is politically correct or not. I always try to get that. Whenever we talk about enhancement talent, I always try to, I tiptoe around. I'll say, now, what is the proper, is it an enhancement? And most guys just look at me and go, no, jobber. And I go, okay, jobber.
Yeah, along those lines, you ever, when you're talking about heel, babyface, kayfabe, all like the terms, you ever feel weird like using those in front of some of the wrestlers?
It's funny. I read something like 10 years ago. It was one of the funniest articles. It might have been one of the dirt sheets, but it was like the 10 ways you're a mark or something like that. And one of them was, you use wrestling terms like the aforementioned to describe real-life situations like at your job. You'd be like, oh, shit, he talked to the boss and did a severe heel turn right there. That's top of the list. So that's when I kind of like when I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, oh, he made such a heel turn. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, nothing, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I'm a mark of anything you're a fan of, you're a mark of it. I say that stuff all the time. I do feel
Harley Race, I don't know if you got a chance to look at the insightful booklet that comes with the Kayfabe Commentaries complete set, but you're talking about talking wrestling talk. The only wrestler that ever talked carny to me was Harley Race, and he did it over dinner before we were about to record the audio commentaries, which was the first track we launched with. We're green as shit, and we're sitting there at dinner with Harley and his wife, and he's not saying much. He's kind of, I guess maybe the guard's up a little bit, and he turns to me and he goes, "What's the name of your company?" And I said, "Kayfabe Commentaries." And he kind of chuckled to himself. He goes, "So, Yispazika's Arnie." And it took me aback, and I was like, really slowly. And he laughed about his wife laughed. And then, you know what? He kind of lightened up after that. But I guess that was like the little test,
yeah.
See if you're a money marker, if you really care about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said he's the only guy who spoke carny to you. Is he the only guest on any of the kayfabe commentaries that also have grabbed your testicles?
Yes, he's the only one to grab my testicles. Although I have to say, I was at a urinal, Shortly after taping the Terry Taylor guest booker, Terry had walked into the restroom. I didn't know it was him. I heard the door open, and he was using the urinal next to me, and he reached over and palmed my ass. So I don't know if that counts. But it must be a wrestler thing. I always thought the handshake was the finger. Apparently, it's the crotch.
Now, early in the notes there, you said earlier you saw Harley Race bend a bottle cap in half with his fingers. Then he's grabbing your testicles. I assume with the same hand. What's going through your mind?
Well, fortunately, he didn't apply the same amount of pressure
right.
On my nuts as he did to that butt. That's legit. I think there's a picture in the booklet too.
Mm-hmm.
He puts it between his pinky and his ring finger, and just with those two bites,
the bottle cap for everybody
fingers, a beer bottle cap.
Mm-hmm.
By just condensing those two fingers, folded it in half like a clamshell. I mean, I was right there. I saw it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, anybody out there, if you guys want to call in, it's 508-644-8503. And we actually have a couple people on hold already, and they've been very quiet, so I'm going to get to them right now. We got Gene on the line.
Hey, guys. Real men don't tweet. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sean, how are you, sir?
Gene, what's going on?
Not much. All I want to say is, them the face walkers right there, baby. The face walkers. Tell us about the face walkers.
Let me tell you about them face walker, baby.
Them face walkers, baby.
This may be the funny.
That must have been.
Let him tell it, Gene.
I'm sorry. I had a few drinks. I'm sorry. That must have been the most awkward, because, this guy is rumored, to love women's feet and women's shoes, and then just to see him just turn into this.
All right, Gene, let's hear it from Sean. Here, let's hear the story.
Any more questions?
Not only does Tony spend an inordinate amount of time, much to my pleasure, talking about the science of the foot fetish. It's not even a foot fetish. It's beyond that. I can't even explain it. Wait till you see this thing. It's a very certain type of shoe, and it involves a woman stomping his face with that shoe. So naturally, you tap into something like that with a guest, and you've got to squeeze it for every drop that comes out of it. We play the game where we bring the women up on the screen in the business, wearing different kind of shoes, which is the right shoe for your face, everything. I mean, we cover the whole thing. So Tony's a really interesting cat. I think it's one of the funniest U-shoots, and it was really a gamble to go to him on that, because the show is pretty much reserved for the really kind of salacious characters in the business. And Tony's a really, really nice guy, a really open, really nice guy. So initially it was like, I don't know if he's a U-shoot, but then we hit the mother load and said, hold on, of course he's a U-shoot. We're going to talk about women stepping on his face for an hour, and we're going to play games about it, and we're going to make this the expose about Tony's fetish. And you're going to love it. Gene, you especially.
Them the foot walkers, baby. Them the face walkers, baby. That China. That was when China was with Triple H.
Gene, do you share the same fetish?
Yeah, I'm actually. I got an ass fetish. I like the cheeks in between my face.
I don't know if that's really a fetish.
He's a Rakishi.
And
man.
I like them.
That's called the Terry Garvin fetish, right?
All right, thank you, Gene. You're a good man.
Thank you.
All right, 828 area code. Who are you?
This is James.
James, what's going on?
Oh, not much. How's it going?
Not too bad. You got a question?
You tell me, James. What's going on? James, this is the biggest drinking night of the year, they say.
Mm.
I don't know if you're sitting home having a tequila talking to me, you're doing something wrong.
Unfortunately, the hardest thing I've had tonight's a Coca-Cola. So.
I had Oak and Cokes earlier. So what's your question?
Just wanted to tell your guest that I loved his work with Jimmy, with Mr. Cornette.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the guest booker and the You Shoot Lost commentaries, and it's just laugh out loud funny. I mean, multiple times watching it, laughing all the time, but I'm a cornet mark, so that's understandable. And
you got to get the timeline. He's got the new timeline out, which is tremendous.
I've looked at that, and that's probably going to be my next purchase from you guys.
Yeah,
and I have heard Mr. Atlas talk to. He was talking with one of the ladies who were at the Starcade reunion about wanting her to step on his face and buying the shoes to step on her face. So yeah, that I've heard.
Absolutely, Jimmy. He's right. There is no shame. Tony will leave a conversation. If you're standing talking to Tony, he will say, "Excuse me a minute," walk to the other side of the room and say to a young lady, "Could you step outside, and if I lay down, would you step on my face?" Yeah. There's no There's no romancing it. He's right out there with it. And you're right. Women in the business. If he's at a wrestling function or at a convention,
this was a fan.
Oh, it was I thought it was a worker. Yeah. Oh no, I've got fans. No. Yeah. Anybody, but they have to be women, as far as I know.
All right, James. Anything else there?
No, just wanted to let y'all know you're doing a great job, man.
All right, thanks for calling.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. We do it for you, and we do it for people with the passion like you do, like you have. Okay. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you mentioned we mentioned the booklet that comes with the Kayfabe commentary complete collection, and that's out there. It's 8 hours, and it's your original. Your deal with where the Kayfabe commentary's name came from, where it's commentaries over matches. And when I was reading that, it said you were a big fan of DVDs and laser discs, and like myself, I was like listening to commentary tracks. Is there any like particular people that you thought like did a good job on movie commentary tracks?
As a young film student back in the day, I about wore the Raging Bull Criterion Laserdisc out to pieces. I think they've since re-released it in DVD form.
Yeah.
And it's a tremendous film. So naturally, the commentary track is intriguing.
I think there's a couple different ones. Because there's one.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah, there's one with Scorsese, one with the actual guy.
The other one that stands out from that era was Seven, the David Fincher film with Brad Pitt. I was a big fan. I was always a mark for cinematography. I always, when I was on a set working as an actor, I always tried to hang with the camera people because I was always fascinated with cinematography. And so Darius Kahonji, who was the cinematographer on our film, it's just shot so stylistically, and the visual style contributes so much to the eerie atmosphere of that film. He did a very unique thing also with the processing of the film. He processed the color film in a black and white wash, so it had kind of like a silvery metallic look to the blacks. The blacks in the film, not the black people in the film. Right. But it made for a very interesting look. Nobody that's interested in wrestling gives a shit about what I'm saying right now. But so let's go to the next question.
All right, I was interested in it, so I wanted to ask.
Okay, well, we'll talk afterwards.
All right, cool. Well, let's see. Eric,
people want to know what CM Punk's going to do next week, so we'll move on.
All right, Eric, what's on your mind?
Not much. My face was healing up from you walking on it last night. Anyways,
hey, if Jack stepped on your face, you'd be in intensive care right now.
No, we do this right. He puts on his face walking shoes, and we give each other bro jobs.
Yeah, I coined the phrase bro jobs a few weeks ago. I'm very proud that brought it up
for you shoot.
Yeah.
He could probably do a shoot on that.
What's a few bro jobs between some bros? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. It's like playing a Wii together. I mean, it's like crossing our Wii remotes together.
Jesus, this is like turning into a WWF locker room in 1986 right now. I'm going to stand up if you don't mind.
You go ahead and stand up, and then if you ever want a subject to talk to Jack about, he has this obsession with wrestlers' penis sizes. If you ever want to talk
I don't have a say. It does come up quite often on shoots. People talk about it. I'm not making it up. Sean knows that more than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
People write on the Facebook why we mentioned he's coming on, and what is the first question that pops up? They want to know how big Batista's penis is.
Yeah, that's very mysterious. We still haven't gotten an answer to that, and I guess the world wants to know. The hell with the deficit and everything. That's really where it's headed. If we can get to the bottom of what's going on in Dave Batista's pants, there's going to be a lot of happy people.
Exactly. Eric, did you have a wrestling-related question?
I have a question and a comment real quick. The comment is Batista's cock is as big as the dragon tattoo on his back. That's where they got the size meter for that. And the question was, Sean Waltman, in his commentary, did he ever talk about sword fighting with China?
That's a reference to her engorged clitoris, I suppose.
Her massive dickorus, I believe would be the term. It's a dick clitoris, right?
Right. He actually talks about the size of it, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, does a little bit of a demonstration on how to properly work that with your mouth. He uses half of a finger to demonstrate.
Oh, good God.
He's all about it. It didn't bother him in the least. He's all about that action, and he made it clear on the U-shoot.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually the first thing on the show to ever make my stomach turn. Thank you very much.
He's cool with the
Hey, listen, glad we could do something.
Exactly. All right, Eric, thank you for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you shoot with China's getting a lot of people talking, and you were on Howard Stern not too long ago. What do you make of her allegations about being a rape tape?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, listen, there were two people in the room, her and Sean Waltman, but it seemed like a kind of an odd. When I posed the question to her on Stern about it, kind of explaining what exactly that meant, because the word rape, to be frivolously thrown around, I think is a dangerous thing. And I'm not saying she necessarily was frivolous with it, but I wanted her to explain it so that if in fact there was more to it, that her point would be made. And I had spoken to Sean, and he was kind of dismayed at the comment. And in her explanation, it kind of sounded like she meant that she was raped because he profited from it, and she's claiming she didn't. Not so much that she wasn't aware there was a camera on, but I think because he, according to her, made out better than she did. I think that was the rape that she was referring to, based on what she said on Stern. But on our U-shoot, she just said that it was something that was done to her, and she considers it a rape tape. So I don't know. China, she's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is just my sense, she's very fragile, and I think now she's kind of using her alliance with Vivid Video and her foray into hardcore porn as kind of like a saving grace function in her life. And I mean, I don't know too much about that business, but just I've heard enough to know that people that turn to that industry for reparation of the soul are usually, it does not end up a very good story, a very happy ending. That industry doesn't generally repair damaged goods. It usually just damages them further. I hope that's not the case with her. She seemed very nice, but I know, there are mental issues there which she would be the first one to tell you there's a history of some mental illness. And I don't know, 11 dicks in your ass. I mean, is that the answer? I don't know. Over therapy?
Jack.
I don't know. I haven't tried it, so I couldn't tell you.
What are you saying, Andrew? You got a question there, buddy?
A question. Yes, I have a question from Spec Son. He wants to know, how open was Shane Douglas towards his discussion? Every topic mentioned, and good Lord, Spec Son, what are you asking? He wants to know like how open he was talking about everything in '94.
Shane's great. We did two projects with Shane. We did Timeline, the history of ECW, 1994. And that's fantastic because he was the strap holder, obviously, at the time, and, the whole ditching the NWA belt. And that story alone it gets a fair amount of time, and it's really a very interesting look into how that happened. I mean, it was a split-second decision that even happened. And it was really Dennis Corluzzo, the NWA president at the time's behavior in the days leading up to that tournament and that night, ultimately, which led Shane to make that decision to do that. He had talked about it with Paul E. prior, but he really was torn, and then ultimately that night decided to do it. So he's very open, and he's got a lot to say. If anyone's talked to Shane off camera, he has a lot to say. Off camera and on, so he's a very entertaining guest. We also shot a U-shoot with him, which comes out, let me look here, March 21st, 2012, which is also fantastic because you guys asked some great stuff, and he always serves it back. He's a straight shooter, and he's great.
Yeah, we had him on not too long ago. It was a great interview. But like you said, anytime you hear Shane Douglas, pretty good stuff. I know some people like on our board, younger fans, they say they don't think was that talented when they watch him now. Do you think some of the ECW stuff, if you didn't watch it at the time, is kind of hard to just watch it out of context and for it to have like the same impact?
Yeah, you know why? Because it's very easy to look at it as kind of the flip-de-doo stuff that goes on now, that that fast-paced and it was a faster pace, but there was still a lot of logic to the in-ring work. The thing that was great about ECW, two things. Number one, Paulie is very, very talented, so everything made sense. You were never sitting there scratching your head. Today, you scratch your head every week.
Yeah.
For when you watch the biggest federation in the world, and then that other thing that's on Spike, you watch and you're consistently baffled by the decisions. That was never the case with ECW. It all made sense, and you know what? He was always able to swerve you anyway. That was the fun thing. Shane talked about the whole Sandman blinding thing, and he was kind of like saying, shame on you, everybody at that bingo hall. You didn't think you could be swerved, and he pulled it off. But that was also at a time where you could take your time, and you could patience was part of the booking. Things were booked in like basically month-long segments for either monthly pay-per-views or monthly house shows back in the day. Now it's quarter-hour booking. It's literally booking for 15 minutes ahead, as opposed to booking for 30 days ahead. I mean, that drastic shift in the paradigm, you can't help but have a completely different product because the focus is so narrow right now. But the other thing ECW did, which whether you like it or don't like it, it 100% led the rest of the business to make that shift to the new identity, which became the Attitude Era, which became, Nitro's worked shoot stuff with the NWO and calling everybody by the first names and kind of breaking that fourth wall by making fun of each other on TV, the two federations. It led to that edgy, and that's an overused word, but if anything was edgy in wrestling, it was ECW. It showed the big guys that it's time to change, and this is where it's going. So it influenced everything that came after it, without question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Were you a fan of ECW and what's going on?
Yeah, I watched. I went to. I can't remember how many shows. I might have just went to one show over in Staten Island. I got hit with a dustpan after it bounced off someone's head. I can't remember. But there was nothing like it. I mean, at that age, I was in college, so I was as much into the spectacle of watching two guys fight out of the ring, through the crowd, over me, it was at a big sportsplex. So they went next door to a hockey rink, and Balls Mahoney shot somebody into the net. It was tremendous.
Mm-hmm. I was never as emotionally attached to a company as when I was watching ECW. When they get on pay-per-view, I was really excited for them. Today I'm not really attached to any of the companies.
And you know what? Anybody I talk to says the same thing. And I think that's the main difference. Even people that watch it now, they may watch it for the athleticism or, for the short end money, what's The Rock going to do this week? What's, Mike Tyson going to do? So they'll watch for the short little peaks of interest that they count on cashing in on for their quarter hour. But nobody has an emotional investment whatsoever in wrestling anymore. It's strict, straight out, flat out entertainment. You go there to be kind of blown away by the pyro and the spectacle, but nobody cares who wins and loses. Nobody cares about the characters. Nobody thinks characters are cool because they sit and they call themselves characters. If Roddy Piper sat on the Tonight Show and turned to Johnny Carson and said, "Hey, listen, that whole thing I do over there, that's an act, that's a character. I'll be in a movie next week playing a different character," that would have destroyed the kind of heat that Piper had that you don't see today, where people literally climbed over each other to take a swing at him because they were that emotionally invested. Mm-hmm. That's done. That's gone.
Did you see Survivor Series?
No, I was busy wiping my ass that night, so I couldn't.
That was a long time.
I had a better offer.
I was just saying, though, when I was watching it, the one thing that really stuck out, though, is when Rock was on there, just how much, he overshadowed, pretty much everybody on the roster. Or not pretty much, I'd say everybody on the roster.
Yeah, well, again, he's a guy from a different era. He was right on the cusp of that, when he debuted. It was kind of out with the old, and we were headed into the Attitude Era. So he's a guy that learned to work. He was very very adept on the stick, which was as important as what was going on in the ring. I think you could probably count on one hand right now the guys that you'd like to listen to for more than 2 minutes in the ring with a microphone, and 3 of those 5 guys are probably guys that worked back when The Rock was working.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of Punk? CM Punk?
He's a bit of a load, isn't he? I'll say one thing. I think we talked about it last time, that they really did latch on to something, a really good opportunity with him sometime back, and I'm sure he had a lot to do with suggesting the angle. But they, in typical fashion, they blew it. They rushed everything. They chased the quarter hour instead of a big, 6-month thing leading up to a big pay-per-view. And I understand it's shareholders that they're answerable to now, not fans. So, they have to chase those quarter-hour numbers. But, I think he's good at what he does. He's good at what he does. He's good for now. If they would have just let him run with it a little bit, I think they would have realized how good he is for the business right now.
Yeah,
he knew how to walk that line. He really
had
played with that.
Really had the momentum behind him that was a few months ago. Then they just kind of lost all the momentum he had behind him.
Yeah, and then the other night I turned it on for. I always try. I really do. I try. I usually last about 4 minutes though. And I turned it on, and at 10 o'clock, they had him a clean job to, what's his name? Who the hell was it? 2 weeks ago. Whoever he laid down for. I'm like, is this the guy that they were putting the entire pay-per-view on his back, 6 months ago? it's such a short term. Imagine these guys. Imagine working there and knowing that despite the fact that you're the main event right now in SummerSlam, literally in 2 months you could be laying down at 10 o'clock on national TV.
Mm-hmm. And he's champion right now, and he's still not on the main event on any of the shows. It wasn't the main event on the pay-per-view. It wasn't the main event on Raw. It's strange. Let's get some more people here in the line. Melvin.
Yeah.
Yes, do you have a question for Sean?
What you been up to, Sean?
What's up, Melvin? I can barely hear you. What'd you say?
He wants to know what he been into.
You really called in just to ask him what's up? I mean.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Melvin. Let's see. 717 area code. Do you have a good question? What's your name?
As I said before, this is the biggest drinking night of the year, so we should expect some more of that.
Half the callers are calling in from the drunk tank.
Yeah, a little backstory there. Melvin actually called in before we called you, and I told him to call back in a few minutes, and that's all he had for you. But 717 area code, who are you?
Jamal.
Jamal, you got a good question.
So what's basically going on? Like,
Jamal, are you with Melvin?
No, I actually just got on here. I seen invite to it, and I just got on. So who am I talking with right now?
Exactly. I asked myself that when they asked me to be on this show. What the hell are you having me on for?
This is Sean Oliver from Kayfabe Commentaries. All right, Jamal. Thanks for calling in.
Jamal, take care, Jamal. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
It's a good call. It's always smart to take the calls. And sure. Did you have a question from the board?
I think what Jamal meant to say was Mr. Moxley's question. He wants to know how much preparation goes into the average interview. And he wants to know what's the difference between like the U-shoot and timeline and all that. Like, how do you prepare for all of the different ones?
That's probably what Jamal wanted to ask.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But the bong got in the way. That's a good question. How much preparation for a shoot interview? Well, for other company shoot interviews, it seems about 8 seconds. But there's a great amount of preparation that goes on. For a U-shoot, as you know, we take solicitations for about a month, and that generates, in some cases, thousands of emails and videos, and Anthony, who is the other owner of the company, who prefers to operate in the shadows, the Steve Wozniak of the team, perhaps, and he compiles it all and segments it into chapters, kind of puts it together in the file so that it flows and inserts games where relevant, and we'll create a game if one comes to mind. And so that's a pretty tedious process in and of itself. The timeline series is even more arduous because of all the research. If you've ever seen one of our timelines, either the WWE version or the ECW, and we will be spinning off a WCW in about a year.
Oh, that's cool.
It's the shooting scripts we get for, there was one that, the Ivory one was, I think that was a record. It was 85 pages that I was given to sift through. And, it's complete with dates and events, and, I get a bunch of bullet points from him with the backstory and opinions and suggested questions, and then it's kind of up to me to formulate it into the conversation with the talent. So each one of those takes him, I guess, anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to write a timeline. And we usually have a few things going on at the same time. So we're usually doing a timeline and a couple of U-shoots. And, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But hopefully the preparation pays off in the end. And, we strive for our pieces to be historically accurate. And we think that they're going to be a valuable historical tool for chronicling these times that the individual releases cover.
Now, when you get like something that has like a finite time, like ECW has beginning and an end, would you like put out like a box set or something of like the complete history of the ECW?
I suppose that could happen when it's wrapped up. We have, what is it going to be, 9 years, right? I think
it's like 94.
that we'd really be able, and that's if we go back, if we do, the pre.
Like 94 is when it took off, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we may go back and do the earlier stuff with Todd, but
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think a box set could certainly happen. Sure, why not? But we need to add something. You just don't want to repackage the same stuff.
Right.
We'll give them something new. Maybe some different people weighing in on the different.
Jim Cornette.
The different years that weren't spoken to during the original first run releases.
Yeah. Now with the WCW ones, is it gonna include the NWA or just when it became WCW?
Yeah, that's one of those fuzzy things too. We're going to start right at that time in the mid '80s, right when, so we can get some of that transaction in there. That's when it'll be though. The tough thing about going back any further than that is that you've got the territory system now.
Yeah.
So, what is NWA 1982? Is it Dallas? Is it St. Louis? Is it Portland? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to confine it to the 14 years that they had the WCW banner. That's the plan right now. And that'll be just as intriguing and interesting as the WWE ones, because they've had a pretty storied history as well.
Definitely. I know you got the guest booker out now, Terry Taylor, and he rebooks the UWF purchase. Was there anything surprising about Terry Taylor when you met him?
Other than grabbing my ass? He's really smart. He really is, and he's a humble guy. You get the sense that wasn't always that way, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that. He has made some mistakes in his career, one of which we'll be putting a little outtake / trailer up for. He talks about a very funny story about an exchange with Dusty Rhodes, which cost him years of success in the business while Dusty was booking. But he's really smart. He's a guy that's always been very much in the shadows since he left the in-ring work. He's not a guy. He was working creative for WWE and then for WCW on that ill-fated booking committee. He learned his chops under Kevin Sullivan, which there's some great stories about that on there. He's a great subject for this. The goal of that series is to chronicle the mind of every living booker. So we're going to get them all, hopefully, and he's a welcome addition. He's a very talented guy.
I know. I think it was Playboy Don Douglas, one of the fans there. He wanted to know if there was any shot of doing one with Ole Anderson.
Well, he's tied to Connecticut, so it's not going to happen while that's the case. They, though, can feel free to take all of our concepts and ideas and repackage them as their own, but I can't do an interview with one of their fucking...
No, I mean, Ole Anderson.
Oh, Ole. I'm sorry, you said Arn.
No, Ole.
Oh God, I'd love to do Ole, and I hope we still can. Let me leave it at that. I don't know. I haven't talked to Ole. I don't know how he is.
You saw him in August.
I would. And what? How was it?
Like physically, he's not doing so good, but I think mentally he's still all there and everything. I don't know. He has to get up and stretch a lot, but I think he could probably be able to do it.
How's his recall?
That's a big thing about him. He really enjoys telling stories. He likes to tell all the fans all the stories about back in the days. This year I didn't do too much, but usually we go to this the NWA Legends Fan Fest every year, and he sits in the lobby usually for like hours and hours and just tells the fans all stories about back in the day. So I think it would really work well.
Yeah, it'd be great. He's one of a few names on a short list of people that I desperately want to get. Him, Bill Watts, Pat Patterson. There's a few that I'm desperate to talk to for that show. The guys that show was made for, basically. Cornette was a big one, and we were very, very lucky and thankful to get him. But yeah, there's some guys that series really, really shines with, and would shine with, and was really designed in mind for the type of personality and type of philosophy that certain guys have. So definitely, Ole is somebody on my short list.
Mm-hmm. About Disco Inferno.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's on a list, all right.
That would be pretty good stuff. You get to hear about the Invisible Man and the.
I'd like Tanay as an alien.
Actually. Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard any of those stories. Some of the ideas he came up with.
Yeah, I remember the Invisible Man. Sure. Who told us that, actually? Somebody tells a very funny story about that on camera.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. Was it Waltman? I don't know. Somebody.
Could be. It sounded pretty awesome, though, in my opinion. I don't know. Was anything else good from the board?
Oh, yes. There's plenty of good from the board.
All right.
We got an F, Marry, Kill for you. A Missy Hyatt.
Oh, for me? All right, go ahead.
Missy Hyatt, Dixie Carter, and China.
Oh, Jack, you go first.
F, Marry, Kill. And who was it? It was China, Dixie Carter, and who was the third one? Missy Hyatt?
Missy Hyatt, yeah.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, I guess marry Dixie. She's got the bucks.
Yeah, well, that's what common sense would say, but look what you're left with.
Yeah, then
That's like death by hanging or death by fire.
You might. I was just saying, might hit something from one of them, but it could be possibly both.
Yeah, you know what you do? That's the answer. You grab Dixie by the arm and you run out the door.
I think.
Be loaded.
I think in the long run you would probably be better off with Dixie because she does have the money. Yeah. But then you which one are you going to F? And I don't know. I probably.
Missy Hyatt, if you could use the time machine back in
the time machine, I'd be all over that. But and then let's see.
You know what's funny? Though,
the other two would just drive you crazy.
Every time she's come up in an F, Marry, Kill, everybody says they go, well, listen, at one time, and then they go back to 1985.
Yeah.
Gotta throw the time machine in the mix.
Exactly. Well, one time Mae Young was quite a catch.
Yeah, she was pretty hot back in the days.
Yeah, well, Eisenhower was carrying his own golf clubs at the time, but
Johnny May, you're quite a dame.
I'd like to see that. Mae Young, maybe you could do timeline like 1920 or something. That'd be pretty good. But
that question came from second to none. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention his name.
When I was reading your book with there, and you mentioned Eric Sims and John Mills, and I've worked with both of them to get people on the show, and some people really hate working with agents of wrestlers. Have you had any really bad experiences?
We had some silliness with. God, who the hell was it? It involved the Jamie Dundee booking. I talked to that agent about getting Jamie, and I pitched him what we wanted to do, and that we had a lot of demand for Jamie to be on the show. And he turned around, and somehow we lost we offered a price And then he came back and said Jamie turned it down. Then I found out from the grapevine that they were planning on doing a shoot with him. Basically, I guess because I told them the marketability of him. So I called Jamie directly and said, listen, here's the story. What money were you offered? And he told me, and it was considerably less than we really had offered. So this guy was going to siphon a bunch of it and only give him a little bit. And, of course, that's why he turned it down. I said, now, here's what the offer was. XYZ, you make a couple of hours for me when you're up here. And he was like, I told him the story, and he was livid. He's like, fuck, man. He goes, you want me, he goes, I'll get a case of laryngitis when I go before that camera. I said, no, give them their interview. But, and then I called him, and we kind of had that straightened out. It's kind of a shitty business from that standpoint, but you just got to be a straight shooter. You got to let people know that, you can't be pushed around. And outside of him, I think it's been okay. Mm-hmm. You got to tolerate Eric Sims. You learn how to do it.
Yeah. I've actually never met him, just some emails. But I know I like your stuff about the Iron Sheik, because actually when we had the Sheik on, I actually did try to have a real interview with him, but it just didn't work out. But do you think some people, take advantage of him and try to, just put out really embarrassing stuff with him?
You mean video projects and stuff? Well, yeah. The Sheik, you just he doesn't edit a lot of his behavior. So you could pretty much have him do anything. If you said, Sheik, listen, take your penis out, please, and walk into that daycare center over there, he would probably do it. I was on the Opie Nantes show with him up at the studio, and this is an uncensored show, right? I've been
you can say anything you want. Mm-hmm.
Unprofessionally here. I apologize. But they were basically asking him about he was famous for saying his 10-inch dick, and they were like, there is no way you have 10 inches in there. And we were promoting the first ring roasts, and they said, listen, if he takes out his pants and shows up if he's got 10 inches right now, we will plug ring roasts for the next however long they and I said, let's go, Kaz. And he stood up, and I have it on one of my old camera phones. He whipped it out and right on the show there. So, but look at Eric first. And this is the funny thing about that relationship. It's almost like a parent and a child. They're like, go ahead, Sheik, you whip it out. And he reaches down to his pants. First looks at Eric. He goes, do I do it? And then he did, but it's a very funny dependent relationship. That's why we put out that investigative special. It was actually the first investigative special we did, Rebuilding the Sheik, because I wanted Eric and him there to answer those kind of questions about, pulling the Sheik strings. And then we also did a segment of the show with just Eric, where the Sheik was not there to hear the answers. And it's a very odd relationship. The story in the booklet for the Kayfabe Commentaries set talks about when we were at dinner, and he turns to Eric to order, and then Eric orders the entire meal for him, and said, "Do you want soup, Sheik? You want some soup? You want some soup, Kaz?" Yes, sure, soup. He's like, okay, he'll have the vegetable soup. So it's a very dependent relationship. I love it on the message board. Somebody just said, "Who is this guy?" Not on the message board. I'm sorry, on the chat. On the chat, yes.
Yeah, Brain's in the chat. He's trying to give you one of my ideas. He's stealing one of my I've had for shoot series, and he's trying to give it to you. A series of seances with dead wrestlers.
Ooh, wow! Who asked that?
That was a Brain. Oh, it was actually an idea I had on the show at one point, which kind of leads into President Clinton's question. What was the worst idea pitched to you for a series?
Well, listen, we have a show in the file. Mm-hmm. Hasn't been shot yet, but it's called You Shoot. Yes, You Shoot From Beyond.
Mm.
And the guest is a medium, and we take only questions for dead wrestlers.
What?
And via the Ouija board, they will answer your questions for Fritz von Erich, Kerry, and everybody. So, yes, in fact, that is one of the ideas we have on hold right now. It's called You Shoot From Beyond. I'm sorry I had to say that because there's going to be a shoot interview company with it out in 3 weeks. It won't be a real Ouija board. And it won't be a real medium, but we would do the real deal.
Yeah. Man, I had this idea years ago on the show. I don't know what's going on here. What to give it the lawyers?
You should come work for us.
Let's see. Are there any other good ones in here?
I've got an idea.
We don't want to ask here. Yeah.
I want to know, how about like a cat fight series? I saw that Ashley Mazzaro and Tammy was going at it on Facebook or something or other. How about getting those two in the same room?
Yeah.
Just to see what happens.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, I mean, there's very little we won't try. Whether it succeeds or not, or
along those lines, though, it was Tammy's mad because I've heard her complain about this before. The other, people don't introduce themselves to her, and then big thing in wrestling too lately is the guys haven't shaken hands and they get kicked out or whatever. Have you ever come across any guys make you shake their hand or anything?
No, I'm hiring them. When they come in, they're working for me. Nobody tells me what to do.
Oh, great. No, I know Honky Tonk Man. He wanted Seagram's Extra Smooth, and I guess that's a hard thing to find. Has anyone else had any hard to find requests? Like anyone just wanting red M&Ms or anything?
Yeah, there's always something odd, What Jack is referring to in the booklet for the Kayfabe Commentaries complete collection, we talk about the fact that we have a pretty diligent effort to make the guests as comfortable as possible, and we will stock this suite with whatever they want for the shoot. So we always ask them for a beverage of choice. Honky Tonks was the Seagram's Extra Smooth Vodka, which had probably been discontinued for 5 years by that point. So the quest to find the Extra Smooth was, we managed to do it for the first thing we did with them, the commentary tracks. We found a dusty bottle. I don't remember who found it. A dusty bottle of the shit at the back of a store. And for the second one, we couldn't, and we ended up having to give him Kettle One. That was back in the days when he drank. He's kind of cleaned up his act now. No more Gatorade for Honk.
Yeah.
Let's see. Terry Taylor, of all things, asked for Diet Mountain Dew.
That's pretty easy to find, I would think. It was around here anyway. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not a Sprite. It's like, and speaking of Sprite, what's his name? The Sprite addict, Corny.
Oh, yeah.
We had a copious amount of Sprite for him, and turns out he's on this diet from after going to the cholesterol doctor or whatever the hell, the cardiologist, and he couldn't even drink the Sprite. Boy, this interview is headed right into the toilet. We're talking about Sprite.
Well, Brains here in the chat room. So, being a handsome fellow, Sean Oliver, did you ever bang any of the divas you've interviewed?
Like I would say it if it happened.
Right. And you're not going to tell us right here on the show?
Who was on the show? I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to think of the selection I would have had to choose from.
Ivory, China.
Oh, Ivory was nice. Maria.
Oh, Maria.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah.
Maria, Missy High. They were all very nice people, but we're a very professional outfit,
Uh-huh.
We're a very, very professional outfit.
Something I've always wondered, I think I've asked some people this on the show, but in 20 years, do you think shoot interviews, they just won't be very fun anymore? Like people will be talking about what they used to tweet to other wrestlers and Twitter wars and going back and playing video games in their hotel room. They won't be talking about all the rats.
We spend a lot of time talking about the direction of this down the road, because the allure of the shoot back in the day was, of course, the fact that they were drawing the curtain back on all these kayfabe things that people weren't able to see or hear about, and we've pretty much heard about it all. That's why we kind of started to add format to it, because the bookers can always talk about booking. The U-shoots, the fans get to ask whatever they want. So if they want to ask fucked up stuff, they can. And then we even pushed the formatting even further with really highly stylized stuff like Wrestling's Most, which is a countdown show where the fans vote on the results, and then the stars kind of critique the fans' top five leading votes. So we have Wrestling's Most Controversial Moment, Wrestling's Most Awful Angle. In January, we're going to have Wrestling's Most Over Babyface and Wrestling's Most Effective Heel. So yeah, that's our challenge always, is to find the right format. It's the evolution of the entertainment portion of wrestling. You've just got to find the next way to make talking about wrestling interesting. So we'll always continue to do that. I think the folks that still just kind of sit there and read a list of questions about, who trained somebody and,
were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Yeah, that's got a shelf life that is probably very close to over. But I think we're always good at finding a concept, whether it be ring roasts or U-Shoot Live, which we did with Dixie Carter, and I'm going out of town in 2 weeks for a meeting with, hopefully, the person who will be our next U-Shoot Live in 2012. So we're always looking for that variation on talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
Because, you're right, talking about wrestling, there's not going to be much to talk about.
Mm-hmm. After you did the one with Dixie Carter, was she, open all for you to, do anything with other TNA talent?
You mean working for them or for?
Yeah, either way, either doing something with them or if you wanted TNA talent for other issues.
There was very cursory talk about me going to Tennessee a little bit, and it never got very far. Talk about a shelf life on a job, boy. There's some security. Go work for TNA. But we did. I mean, everything went very well with Dixie from a business standpoint after the fact, and we had a couple of beers with Dixie afterwards, and it was a very, very nice discussion. We talked to some of the office folk there, and truth be told, I actually did do a formal presentation for the powers that be at TNA for a DVD series that would have benefited them and given them some street creds, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't turn out, and then there was a big shakeup in the office over the past year, so that stuff kind of fell apart. But yeah, there was some talk about next steps, both from Kayfabe Commentaries and perhaps on my doing stuff with them.
I found just doing the show that they over the last couple of years they're a lot harder to work with. I don't know why.
Well, like I said, things changed this past year, and they've got their own issues down there.
Yeah. Ultimate Beef here wants to know, does he like drunk? Do you like drunk shoots or sober shoots better?
You mean the ones hosted by Tyrone before and Melvin?
Mm-hmm.
Those type of shoots would be my favorite. No, drunk shoots, meaning when the guest gets tanked?
Yes, yes. And they're not yourself, the guest.
I know that they're all fine. I guess, whatever. But if that's consistent with the person, I mean, I wouldn't want someone to come on who is all messed up, who isn't comfortable with the public seeing them that way. But I think the people that we all obviously see were a little affected during their shoots were Sandman and Jamie Dundee and maybe Hockey Talk a little bit on his first U-Shoot, and Scott Hall when you did a run-in on ring roasts. I think those folks are pretty comfortable being looked at like that. So listen, if they're comfortable, although the Jamie Dundee shoot was very difficult. It was very difficult to get him to focus, sit down, stop kissing me, all the above.
Mm-hmm. Has there anybody that just like told you outright that they're not comfortable, talking about the business, that they're not going to do it? Not for money or anything like that, just that they don't want to do that.
No, they're on the wrong show. If that's
somebody you approached and you ended up not doing it. That just that was the reason they gave you that they wouldn't do it.
No, nobody gave that as a reason. There are some guys that are a little more hesitant to talk about certain things. For example, we did some work with J.J. Dillon recently for some projects that have not yet been released, and we were talking about blading, and he choosing his words so carefully. And I said to him, it is so hard for you to even talk about this today, with all that's behind us, and with you having written a book which for 300 pages exposes the business. You still are holding on to this a little bit, aren't you? And he just kind of looked at me and said, yes, and nothing else. And we moved on. It's a great project. It's called Being a Horseman, and it'll be out in February, I believe, February 28th. It's the first, we're calling it a shoot sim. And you want to, again, we're talking about interesting ways to steer talking about the business. It's a simulation shoot interview is the best way I can describe it. I can't even really fully describe it. But it takes 7 days in 1987, 7 actual days, and you go on the road with the Four Horsemen through J.J. Dillon telling stories and talking about stuff on camera, combined with on-screen graphics, and it kind of takes you on a first-person tour of those 7 days. And I'm not just talking about who you worked with in the ring. I mean, we certainly have all that stuff, and it is accurate. It's researched through JJ's notes, his journals from the time, and our doing our research. But to the bar they went to, how late they stayed, who left with what ladies, and what the ladies looked like. Right down. You will live the life of a horseman for 7 days. The first ever shoot sim, and it's called Being a Horseman. It's coming out on February 28th, and I'm marking out like a little bitch for it. It's unbelievable.
That sounds pretty sweet. I'm a big fan of J.J. Dillon. We met him several times, and you just listen to him talk all day, pretty much.
I love him.
Mm-hmm. Inch, was any other good question from the board you want to ask?
Let's see. There was a good one up here somewhere. Where was it?
The entire, just for you, the entire chat room has fallen asleep on their keyboards for the last 5 minutes. I don't know if you're looking at this, Jack, but I have put everybody to sleep.
I think it's the opposite. They're listening intently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You got to spin.
Spec Son, he wants to know, which was the wilder you shoot interview, Jamie Dundee or the Sandman?
Jamie.
Were you fearing for your life during that one?
I was cognizant of the fact that we were capturing the real Jamie Dundee, so I was kind of excited, but I really wanted it to be over. If I'm not mistaken, actually, as a sidebar to that, Jamie took his payday, got on a plane literally a half hour or so after leaving us, landed back home and was arrested. It took his paycheck, I think, went out and blew it on drugs and was arrested for DUI that night.
That's pretty crazy. Clinton here, President Clinton, he wants to know, when does the Jackie Jones guest booker come out?
You're listening to it.
Oh, man. They're definitely getting their money's worth, considering this is a totally free website. Big blue cage versus a traditional cage, which is better?
No, come on, Sean.
Well, give me it again. What did you say?
The big blue cage versus a traditional wrestling cage.
Make it a good answer.
Oh, come on. The old fence, man. Give me the big blue cage. They did that shit for Bundy's gigantic feet, so he could WrestleMania too.
Oh,
that's my
you disappoint me, Oliver. I can't believe this.
This is a 5-year debate between Incher and myself. He's the big blue cage mark, but I tell him exactly. It's like a stepladder. It's like
you bait the questions. You're like the big blue cage or the magical fence. No, nobody cares. It's the big blue cage. Everybody knows.
What is there to admire about the gigantic blue cage?
Well,
Incher, please.
you have your typical Hollywood stuntmen, and then you have Evel Knievel. There you go. That's all I need to say. It's about showmanship. Do you want to just go to a wrestling match and see a fence? I mean, you can go outside and see that, can't you?
But it led to the atmosphere of two caged animals being fenced in.
If they were real animals, it would be bars.
It's gritty.
Bars, not a fence. Does a fence hold an ape?
It's kind of dirty. It's the big blue cage. It's like it's shiny and it's blue and kind of looks like a toy. Regular cage. It's gritty and it's nasty. And you think it's two guys. They're in there. They're stuck in a cage fighting it out. The big blue cage, they try to escape. Well, why would you want to run away
Your
from
comedic hero, Mick Foley, he said on the show, most pain he's ever felt was when China slammed his head into the big blue cage. So there you go.
Well, they were definitely more sturdy and less forgiving from a shoot standpoint.
See?
But
I'm winning over.
At two guys in a giant, it looks like a giant dog kennel, and you put two pit bulls in there and let them battle it out.
Exactly.
Period.
Plus, that's kind of a double whammy. Not only did it look like the big blue cage, it actually hurt too. So that's not good. That's not a good combination. That's like the ultimate warrior of cages is the big blue cage. Looks bad and it hurts.
Can we get a caller to help me out here? I mean, please?
Nah. Jamal's trying to call back in.
Hell yeah, get Jamal. He's down with the blue cage.
Check out Kayfabe Commentaries.com. We got a lot of new stuff coming out.
Yeah, go over there, hit us up. You can check us out on Twitter. We are Kayfabe Comment on Twitter. Head to the website, kayfabecommentaries.com, or shootinterviews.com if that's easier for you to remember. It'll take you to the same place. Join our mailing list. You'll get our monthly e-newsletter telling you about everything we're working on, and follow us on Twitter. We send little photos and tweets from the set, and we'll also take your tweets live as we're doing new shoots. We're the guys to follow. Come on.
It's good times.
Sean, we want to be able to end an interview without asking you, what are you doing for your Thanksgiving?
Well, we host, so we're having 15 people over here, so it'll be chaos tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be good times.
Brains wants to know if we're considering doing a DVD about the biggest botches in wrestling. We are. Go to our site. We're taking a poll now. Next season's Wrestling's Most, one of the editions is going to be Wrestling's Most Botched. So we teamed up with Botchamania.com. They have a video of the 20 nominees for the most botched moments ever. Watch them on their site, and then come to our site at kayfabecommentaries.com and vote. And it'll be the subject of one of next year's Wrestling's Mosts.
That's cool. Matthew over at Botchamania is a fan of In Your Head. He's cut out pieces of In Your Head, not as a botch, but just because he likes them and put them up on his site. So it's good times, definitely. It'd be bad if he just cut stuff out and was like, listen to these guys. This is freaking Botchamania worthy right here. I guess some of our callers could be on there. I don't know.
Some of our shows could be on there.
You saying this one?
No, not this one. Not this one. I'm
right.
saying like other shows. I mean,
okay.
Some of them were epic fail.
I don't think. I wanted to ask you this too. I forgot because I know some people have given you a hard time on other message boards. They say that you mug for the camera. What would you say to people who talk about you like that?
I don't know. Did they say that? I don't know. What message board? Let me know. I'll find them.
I think it's F4W, I believe.
Oh, probably.
I'm not a member. I don't know, but I've been told that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I mean, I was on camera talent in the entertainment business for 20 years. I guess that's why I quote unquote mugged for the camera. But I guess maybe I should just go stand behind the camera, not be on camera at all. We'll do a nice big close-up of somebody's face, and I'll ask them, about the time it rained in Puerto Rico and what their memories are of that. You do that, they're not happy. You go on camera, you try to engage in conversation. That's me. I mean, I go on camera and I'm myself, and I try to have engaging conversations with these people. If it's a lighthearted, funny show like you shoot and something comes up and I'm being somewhat frivolous with the talent and joking around and it's a lighthearted moment, then I guess I'm going to do that. I guess they consider that mugging for the camera. I don't know. They don't have to buy the shit. There's other shoot interview companies out there. It sounds like they'd be more interested in watching that shit. Maybe they can get one of a guy spitting skull in a bottle for 10 hours. Maybe that's the one they'd want to watch.
That's sad times, that one. Then they put out a regular version of that, and then they put out the special version with an extra disc, and like all the good stories were on that extra disc. It's kind of a ripoff. Not that I bought it or anything, but I was pissed. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. It's always a lot of fun talking to you.
All right, you lunatics. Have a good holiday, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, cool.
Take care.
Hey, what's up? This is X-Pac, and you're listening to In Your Head Radio. If you smell what the Pac is smoking.